You describe Rebel Nature as an open, creative invitation. Could you elaborate on what that means?
I want everybody to have the experience I had when I was part of creating Bionicle. I think it's the most satisfying thing to be part of a team. It's like sailing into a new ocean, trying to find land ahead. The crew is on the boat and they're on the position that they need to be to get a safe journey. And if you get into rough waters, they will act in the way they should. But we are also on the way to something that has never been seen before. So this is epic times, and having the virtual side of life opening up. When I had my virtual reality goggles on for the first time, I was like, here it is. I need this fully immersion in a story world where your actions are your choices. I had experience with a teenager, my own daughter, who was really looking in the mirror all the time, looking in social media. And then I put her VR goggles on an oil rig in the middle of the ocean where she had to navigate around this oil rig, not falling down those 40 meters into the water. And she had a bodily reaction. She was like learning this in a physical way, in sort of an empathic way. Suddenly she was not looking at herself in the mirror. She was placed in a situation where her body became part of the experience. It was really enlightening. I think VR can do empathy in a way we have never experienced before. And we need our human bodies to learn new things because our minds has actually become too clever to learn new things in some way. We need to learn to feel again, but in a conscious way. I try to connect with people around the world who are really on the forefront. I have somebody called Snow in England. He's doing the craziest model building puppets. Then I have a guy called Ghost 3D in Israel. He's doing the craziest octopus simulation. I need that for Rebel Nature. Last one on my list right now, which is a girl called Louis. She's illustrating females in the coolest way. I would love to get her to draw some Rebel Nature stuff. I want to invite people. I want to invite you to do videos about stuff. Anybody who has skill or are going towards getting skills, I want to give them exactly the task they want inside Rebel Nature, because it's a copy of Earth in 20 years. So everybody can just go ahead starting design what they see in the future, both good and bad. That is the invitation. And I think the tools are coming to everybody in a little while. And they already had the smartphone where they can do amazing stuff. And I think companies like Unity will bring these tools into the hands of creators. I've actually chosen Unity because it's a Danish startup and they have a really democratic view on doing development. So I really like that approach.
We discussed the app game Escape Brick 21, the 3D film Waveborn, and the VR experience. All of those were really experiments to learn new stuff as you moved into the project.
And just to say, it's been so long coming. It's been a fight to get it financed, to actually steer clear of people who are not interested in actually doing the creative work, but just interested in getting a lottery ticket for something that maybe would be big. This is for common good. This is for creative journey. I know money is a part of this, but as far as I can go, I will gonna keep money out of this. I've been approached for people who want to sponsor stuff inside Rebel Nature, and I've kept out of it to keep it as clean as possible until we get to the right level of sponsorship. I want to get public funding for Rebel Nature through EU funds, which are opening up soon. I want to get United Nations into the global goal part of this, and I want to get educational partners, universities and so on. They are the first priority instead of having commercial partners that are going to put brands all over the place. So that's also the purpose of taking this as far as possible, as clean as possible. I was thinking about going into Kickstarter or something like that to sort of keep it on the hands of the creators. But I must clearly say that I'm looking really, really closely at the NFT talks that are coming up now. I'm not saying I want to do that, but I've been following the whole blockchain way of thinking. And if we can secure digital rights to stuff being made, imagine that you can own your own part of the concept that you have made for Rebel Nature, but you can actually be part of the whole sort of a source book of stuff going in there. And if stuff is used or sold, you will earn from it as a creator. The whole idea that you can put that kind of contract into an NFT, I want to reach a point where this is something that's putting the artist in the owner seat and not some brand or rich people who can buy up rights. And by that, I'm saying all the Lego designers around the world, if I get to do what I really feel, I would want to relaunch Bionicle in a totally designer-owned version. So if you imagine all the great muggers, people who are building with their own bricks, when they're doing unique pieces, I want them to own that piece and being able to sell it as a collective piece. And when that's sold on to the next person or to a gallery and something, it can actually earn them a living. And that's also goes for all the creative stuff, drawings or in 3D or whatever is going to be done. I actually feel we're getting to the point where this can actually happen. And I would love to see that happen both with Biovival, Bionicle, hopefully supported by Lego, but also, of course, with Rebel Nature and what may come in the future of stories or ideas that people can join in on being creatives inside universes that they really find attractive and so on. That's the vision.
I was curious about if Rebel Nature was commercially funded, with it being picked up for a TV series by Toon to Tango.
There's no money involved. They are promoting us, but we don't have any funding at all. We are in a really, really good place right now because we have come so far and we have really solid story ideas. I'm not in a hurry, I want to land the exact right deal when we're doing this, and preferably we want to do it in our virtual production setup. I have a guy coming home from a big production in Sydney, and he's been down working together with ILM on a big production. I think it's actually the next Thor film. And he's coming home and he really wants to build the next virtual production studio together with us at Rig 21. So we're going out to find the right investors for that and trying to do a place where we can actually bring Rebel Nature to life. We want to show that you can do great storytelling in a sustainable way, because that's part of the whole story, that we have to change a lot of things. As storytellers, we can change our perspective, but we can also change our way of production. So we don't need to fly to all kinds of places in the world to do amazing stories, and we can do it in a new and exciting storytelling manner where we involve people in new ways. Maybe we're also going out to invent new kinds of media, because bridging the gap of time would be amazing. And we're actually doing that right now by doing digital media, because stuff we're doing now is going to be seen by our ancestors in ways we can't imagine. So we better do good stuff right now because it's going to be available. I think everything is going to be transparent in a way we can't imagine. And that's actually a good thing, as I see it, if you had good intentions.
I think the virtual production shown in the case study about sustainable storytelling is incredibly impressive for such a small team, with that LED wall allowing you to create composite shots between live action and CG.
Yeah, but it's also, the LED wall takes a lot of energy, and thinking new smart ways of producing the energy or storing CO2 in a new way. All those ideas that are coming up are giving ideas straight into Rebel Nature. I heard that they were thinking about putting the big servers, which are taking up a lot of heat, deep underneath water in a coherence with the big windmills that are ocean going. There's so many story ideas coming out of mixing science and near future. I want to be in that area where you're people saying, is this science or is it just outside science? Because I think there's so many great ideas that are just beyond reason.
Some of the things you've posted, like the carrying a tree truck. I love that concept, which is this big old truck and there's a tree in the back. Can you tell us at all if that'll fit into Rez's story, or is that more just as part of the world?
I have a character which is going to be really important for Rez, called the Gardener. He is a botanic guy, and he has this project because there's a syndrome on Earth in near future where trees stop growing. They just go into almost like a slumber where they are almost shrinking. They're actually eating their own size instead of growing every year. And that is called bonsai syndrome, named after, of course, small trees. It's like nature trying to downsize because of the effects of the climate and different things happening. So this gardener who loves natural world and so on, he's gone on a quest to try to reverse this bonsai syndrome. And that's why this big tree that is one of the first trees that are starting to sort of react, he's trying to find a place on Earth where this effect actually is stopped, trying to use different kind of water, trying to use different kind of oxygen blends, going into the desert. So he's driving this tree around and having a biotope on top of this truck, driving it around into different areas, but also saving this little piece of natural environment. There's a water thing inside the truck as well, pumping like a waterfall, and there's almost like a whole habitat there. He ends up actually bringing this tree to the Goodman Rock when he's called to that experiment, which is prior to the Rez story. The team of scientists that goes on to Goodman Rock, that is Rez's parents, and a team of, it's actually, if you look at it in the time scale of now, then it's some of the kids that are growing up right now listening to Greta and hearing about all the trouble. They became scientists in the Rebel Nature setup, and then they move out to change the world in different ways. And these science projects are on the edge of fiction, but I'm actually talking to scientists about the stuff that they would actually pursue. And I've heard things, after I started on Rebel Nature, I've heard the bacteria starting to eat plastic, and also snails in the deep sea starting to shape metal stuff on their back and so on. So nature is actually starting to speed up its evolutionary steps, but also evolving into new things and starting to use technology in a way we can't imagine. I'm really in a process of trying to get all the right partners into position, and I don't have enough energy or power to fill up the whole world with cool concepts for this story, because the more location and story ideas that are out there, the more possibilities for visit by characters that I haven't even thought about. Imagine Star Wars thought out by a big community. If you have thought about a character that would be a special guy, almost representing yourself in the story, then he would go in and be part of this universe in a story context. That is actually, I think, your gift for the future, if that's possible, to put creativity into that kind of time machine almost. So what you're doing, if you're thinking creativity into a project like Rebel Nature, you're actually sending a message to your future sort of relatives. I'm really sort of sentimental about that, but I want to use that sentimentality for my daughters and their kids or whatever it's going to come to make something that can travel.